Alright, so I've decided to make a video of about my MCPX. I'm really loving this little heli right now. I'm trying to learn how to fly bigger helicopters with collective pitch and idle up, and I don't have a lot of money, so I chose this helicopter because it's pretty much indestructible, which I've crashed it 5 million times and I'm still flying it, still teaching myself how to fly, basically. It just doesn't have enough inertia really to hurt itself. These little things come off all the time. Little connecting rods right there on the connect the swash plate to the blades here. Those are always popping off, so I have to buy extra those. I've busted the tail 1.5 million times, so I ended up getting this tail replacement shaft from Micro Helis, and it had a really cool little carbon fiber thing on there which I've busted off, but still flying. You gotta use your own motor off of the stock MCPX to put that on there. My frame here is all walled out, so I'm using hot glue to hold that in place. And the wires for that are running through the tube, the aluminum tube, which gets bent all the time, and I bend it back. You can see that it's been bent a lot. It's not perfectly straight, but straight enough to fly good. And what else? So, I live in Colorado, and there's a ton of snow out there. There has been for like weeks and weeks, and I just got a bunch of new batteries for this thing, so I'm trying to fly it like 8 or 9 times a day, really. I can fly it around my little tiny living room just fine, but I really like to get out and do big figure eights and get really used to orientation with it outside. And I haven't been able to do that, so because of the snow, I go out there and I try, and every time it gets a little bit wet it starts twitching and acting funny. So anyways, one of the people that I'm subscribed to, I think it's what is it? He has a video on his site about waterproofing speed controllers with like a 5-minute epoxy. So that's what this video is about. I'm gonna try and waterproof the board in there, because every time it gets a drop of water on it, it has a little seizure and gives me a heart attack. So okay, so the board is off, right? And my screws are safe. I just put them on a piece of tape because I always lose tiny little screws like that, and those things are tiny. So everything here is color coded, so I can't mess up in putting back together. And yeah, so basically I'm going to mix up some 5-minute epoxy, and I'm going to paint it on here with a crappy paintbrush that I don't care about, because apparently I won't be able to use it anymore. And I'm just going to go over all the electronics here. And I'm also going to try to keep it as light as possible, but basically I just want to be really careful to get all of those little contacts covered to where they're not going to short out with each other if any water gets on them. and not really waterproofing it, I guess you could say. I'm making it more water resistant. I really don't want to add any weight, so yeah. Speaking of weight, I should weigh it. Alright, so that went pretty well. I was able to put 2 coats on there before it really started to set up, and it's totally kicked off now. This stuff is really solid, and so I should be able to play with it here in a minute, put it back together, and test fly it. So I can crash in the snow and see if it's still waterproof. No? Alright, let's see. I want to do the servo boards too because they're all exposed. But I'm always really worried about getting epoxy into those gears because once you do, it's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, I've done it. I've had to dig out every little tooth to get the servos to work again. But you can do it. It just really, really sucks, and I don't recommend it. Be very careful if you ever put epoxy anywhere near these exposed servos. I hate that they're exposed, but they work fine. I've got a billion flights on it. So now I'm just waiting for it to dry, and then I'm going to put it back together, and we'll see what happens.